Hello and welcome to Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games night and to introduce friends and family members to the game. Here we are with the last of the Foundations decks that I've put together, and this one is blue and green, and it's called Supersize, and it's all about blue-green ramp, as blue and green usually tends to be. So let's see what I managed to do with the cards available in Foundations. So we just remind ourselves of the strictures and the rules of Get Decked. So these decks are 60 cards, they're designed for 1v1 games, we're only using Foundations cards, using mostly commons and uncommons and cards that cost no more than $2 at time recording, just to make it cheap and easy and accessible to build. We limit ourselves to 12 different non-land cards for a good mix of variety and consistency. Strong themes and low to mid complexity, so a casual player can pick it up and have a good time. But just because it's a casual deck doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. So let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 23 creatures, 6 instants, 4 sorceries, 3 artifacts, 24 land and mana curve off to the side there. So let's dive into it. Before we get into it though, let's just quickly remind ourselves how we structure talking about these decks. We talk about how we're winning, so this is the actual win condition of the decks. In this case it's going to be hitting people with big creatures. What helps us win, which is like card draw, ramp, that kind of thing, supports the win condition. And then finally what stops them winning, these are ways that we interact with the opponent and mess up their plans. And just as a quick disclaimer, I've not built this deck, I've not played it, it's all just hypothetical and theory crafting. By all means, go out there, build this deck, have a good time with it, but I can't make no promises on how well it will do. But let's actually get into it and start talking about it. And first we're going to talk about how we're winning. As I said, with big old creatures. So first we're going to have 2 Coma, World Eater, so 3 double green, double blue. For an 8/12 that can't be countered, has Trample and Ward 4, which on its own would be fine, but there's more because when Coma manages to sneak through and do combat damage to a player, I mean, which he will, because he's got 8 power and he's trampling, then you create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. So kind of insane. I was expecting this to be a lot more in the budget, but no, again, it's like kind of just a budget rare because that's where we are these days with Magic the Gathering power level. Yeah, I think Coma's great, like a really good, big, flashy rare. It's the kind of card I love. It's like has a big flashy effect, but also it's easy on the budget. And yeah, it's the kind of card that I think, you know, a new player would look at this and be like, oh my god, oh wow, that's really cool. And it is. You know, like 7 mana for this, I think is really great, which is not hard to hit in this deck because, you know, we're playing blue green ramp. We've got a load of like ways of producing extra mana. So yeah, Coma's going to come down and then be an absolute pain to deal with, honestly, because he's got 12 toughness and he's got Ward 4. So, you know, trying to like deal enough damage or like target him with removal, it's just going to be a big pain. And then if he, you know, hits once, then he's also making another 12 powers worth of things, and that's every time he gets through and does damage. Just makes an extra like 12 power worth of creature tokens. So yeah, Coma's great. Good start, I think, to the deck. And then we've got 3 Heroes Bane, 3 in double green for a 0/0, enters with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. You can spend 2 in double green to put X +1/+1 counters on this creature where X is its power. So if you find no other ways of increasing power, if you're only relying on the counters, basically you're just going to keep doubling the counters on it. And unfortunately, it hasn't got Trample. It is just going to just get big and can be just infinitely chump blocked. But it's still a big creature, you know, and it's interesting actually because Heroes Bane has flip-flopped in rarities. I think at one point it was common, I think, in like some sort of draft set, like a modern set or something, a Horizons or a Master set or something. But it's back to being rare again. It would be obviously it would be good if there was a way to give it Trample. I can't remember. I know for a fact I don't think I've got ways of giving it Trample in the deck. But yeah, it's just another big creature, isn't it? And it can obviously just get bit. It's a nice mana sink as well. And then on the subject of nice mana sinks, we've got 2 Steel Hellkites, which is a creature I actually really like. So 6 mana for a 5/5 flyer. You can spend 2 to give it +1/+0 turn 10. You can spend X to destroy each non-land opponent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by this creature. This turn, activate anyone's turn. So big dragon flies in, hits someone, you spend X, and then you blow up a bunch of stuff, which is I think pretty cool. And also because we're playing green-blue, we're kind of limited in being able to destroy stuff. So I thought this throw in here as well. And also because, you know, it's like it needs colorless mana, so it's easy to cast as well. Yeah, as opposed to Coma, who's, you know, a bit difficult because, you know, you need 2 mana of each color. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun just to have a big flying dragon, a big hydra, and a big serpent. You know, very iconically green-blue big creatures, I thought. Now we're going to talk about what helps us win. This is where I think most of the heavy lifting is going to come in, because we need ways to get the big things out. So we're going to have 3 TappedOut, Benthic Druid, so 3 green and blue for 3/3. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, you gain life and draw a card. Just the most Simic to ever have Simicked, you know? And that's the thing, like, in Foundations, I think the green-blue draft archetype was meant to be like landfall in some way, but kind of like what I was going on about in the last video about blue-red spells, and there wasn't really being a good payoff for like blue-red spells. Like it didn't lead up to a big X spell or something, you know, considering how many cost reductions there were. There's not a lot of landfall in this, or ways to like manipulate land draws or get extra land draws that I could see, at least. You know, not enough, I think, to build a deck around. So really, I think it's more like the landfall is not the deck. The landfall is just there to complement just, you know, traditional like blue-green ramp. Obviously, like ramping is still good when you're like getting life and drawing cards off it, but yeah, it's not the focus of the deck. But yeah, TappedOut is like just so iconically Simic in that she, you know, just does everything that Simic does these days, which is just, you know, reward you for ramping, which is fine. And then 3 Solemn Simulacrum, Sad Robot, 4 mana for a 2/2. When it enters, you can search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and when it dies, you draw a card. Again, just the most Simic-y robots to ever have Simicked. Yeah, just a really solid, obviously, utility creature. And they got 4 Druid of the Cowl as a mana dork, just 1 and a green for 1/3 that taps to give you green, which is fine, just helps, you know, ramp out. 4 Circuitous Roots, 3 and a green, you search your library for 2 basic land cards and or gate cards, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. I was strongly considering putting in the Simic Guild Gate cards, because all the gate cards are in Foundations, just because then you could get them with Circuitous Root. But at the end of the day, I have gone with the Temples in the mana base, as you'll see, just because I think the Temples are just a better dual land anyway, because of the scry, and just, you know, in the long run they add, you know, if you were to build this deck, you know, in real life, like having the Temples is just more value for a collection, I suppose. But I mean, you could put the gates in here if you really want to, if you want to hit them with Circuitous Route, and then at least you're getting like 2 dual lands out at the same time. So, you know, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But yeah, obviously it just ramps out 2 extra lands, which obviously helps getting the big stuff out. And then 3 Heraldic Banners, 3 mana. As it enters, you choose a colour. I would say green for this, because creatures you control the chosen colour get +1/+0. You have got, basically there's Coma, Druid of the Cowl, TappedOut. There's only a few creatures in here that are blue, as we'll see in the what stops them winning, and also like the coils that Coma creates are mono blue. I would mostly go with green for this, and then taps to give you 1 mana of the chosen colour. I would go green. Green is kind of like the dominant colour in the deck, so yeah. But again, it's whatever's the best choice at the time. Now we're going to talk about what stops them winning. So we've got 3 Voracious Great Sharks, 3 in double blue for a 5/4 flash, and when it enters, you counter an artifact or creature spell. Yeah, just a big old body that can flash in as an amazing surprise blocker. I would say you don't even really... Oh no, when it enters, you have to counter it. Oh, it has to counter itself if there's literally no other targets, doesn't it? Hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, so you can't flash it in really on an empty board. It's got to be really in response to something, otherwise it has to counter itself. I hadn't even considered that. There we go. At time of recording, I hadn't even thought about that. But obviously it's great. You know, it's essentially a 5 mana counter spell that also adds a big 5/4 body onto the board. So there you go. View it in that way, I suppose. And, you know, creatures are like the most common thing they're going to get cast. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And then 3 Exclusion Mage, 2 and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters, you just bounce a creature. That's fine. Just early game play to, you know, while you build up to your big stuff. 3 Negates, 1 the blue, you counter a non-creature spell. You could swap this for Essence Scatter, which is also in the set. It's basically, again, whichever feels right. I went with Negate just because I think the deck is going to have more trouble against non-creature spells than creature spells, because you've got big stuff. You know, that's your counter to creatures, is your own creatures. But, you know, whatever feels right. And also the shark is also lets you counter creature spells as well if you need it. And then finally 3 Bite Downs, 1 in the green, a creature you control does damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. You got a bunch of big creatures, so this is basically just straight up a green kill spell. It's green Doomblade, isn't it, basically? And then we're going to quickly talk about the mana base. Very quick, very straightforward. So 4 Temple of Mysteries, but as I said, you know, this could be the Simic Guild Gates to have synergy with Circuitous Route if you really wanted to, and then 12 Forest and 8 Islands. So I'd love to know what you think about this one. I will say, of the 5 Foundation decks I put together, this is the one that I kind of ummed and ahed on a bit. I do think it probably could be better, but I can't think of how. So I would really welcome opinions and viewpoints and comments in down below, saying like what you would change in this, because I know Rampaging Balos in there, and I know there's some other things, I think Spring Bloom Druid, so you could have done that, I suppose, like leaned more into the landfall side of it rather than just big ramp creatures that I've done here. But I mean, at the end of the day, this series is just to, I say, inspire your own deck building. You could just take this and build this deck and probably have a good time with it, or use it as the basis for something else. So that's always been the goal of this series. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think about this one, and say if you would put extra money into it, what you'd change. Would love to know. Stick a comment down below. But yeah, that's been all the Foundations decks. I hope you've enjoyed them. I've once again enjoyed putting these decks together. Not sure when I'll be back with some more. At the moment, life is a bit weird and up and down, so I might be back with some more soon. But in case I don't, in case I go on a break again for a while, I hope you've enjoyed these. And I mean, I hope to be back soon with some videos. But if I'm not, it's been really fun. So until next time, I suppose. Thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day. And hopefully, I'll be back soon someday. But until then, have fun playing Magic.